I did not sign up for this. Matt muttered the words as his boots made a dull thud on the metallic floor of the Proxima 9 abandoned ship. The silence was deafening, almost too loud in its emptiness. The ship, once a beacon of human exploration, now lay like a forgotten relic. Dust covered every corner, the once gleaming surfaces now dull, as though time had swallowed it whole. The first step he took echoed in the hollow silence. The ship had been left to rot, abandoned after the military had deemed it unfit for duty. Its purpose had been to ferry spare parts, to conduct repairs across the galaxy. Now, it was just another piece of history, something to be forgotten. But to Matt, it was personal. He had been sent here for something. One last mission, something small, simple, a spare part, nothing more. He stepped further into the eerie corridors, and the cold air seemed to carry an odd weight. It wasn't the normal stale atmosphere he was used to. Something was off, something just beyond his understanding. And then, just as the ship's door had closed behind him, he heard it. A soft sound, almost imperceptible, but it was there. A small scraping noise, followed by a shuffling. It wasn't the sound of the ship creaking or the hum of malfunctioning systems. No, this was something else. Something alive. A faint light flickered from around the corner, followed by another sound, a breath? No, it was too quick, too sharp. Matt's hand instinctively moved to the side, feeling for his weapon. But he wasn't supposed to be on a combat mission. This was supposed to be simple. Get the part, get out. But something had changed. Hello? He called out, the sound of his voice a strange thing in the lonely corridors. Who's there? The silence that followed was thick, as if the ship itself was holding its breath. And then, before he could blink, there was a whisper. Please, don't come any closer. Matt froze. The voice was low, almost inhuman, and full of desperation. It was soft, but sharp with fear. Who's there? He repeated, taking a cautious step forward. He could see nothing but the darkness ahead. The flickering lights did nothing to illuminate the shadows that seemed to crawl around him. And then there was movement. A figure appeared, stepping out from the dimness, thin, tall, with a strange gait. A human? No, it was wrong. The shape was too lithe, the posture too unsteady, as though the being hadn't quite adapted to walking in a human way. The shadow didn't belong to any familiar species he knew. Matt's heart raced. His weapon felt heavy in his hand. You're not supposed to be here, the creature whispered again, its voice trembling. Matt's mind raced. What the hell? I am not meant for this ship, the creature continued, its voice low, trembling. It wasn't human. It wasn't even close. Its skin had an iridescent sheen, a faint greenish glow under the flickering lights. The eyes, huge and dark, like voids, were watching him intently, filled with a mix of fear and curiosity. Matt felt the hair on his neck stand on end. The creature was trying to move, but its limbs shook as though it could barely hold itself together. It stumbled slightly, as though its body didn't want to cooperate. What are you? Matt asked, his voice barely above a whisper, unsure if he wanted to know the answer. I am. Not a threat, the being stammered, its voice higher now, filled with a note of panic. Please, just leave. Please don't tell anyone. I am hiding. Matt stepped back, still keeping his weapon ready. He didn't know what to make of this situation. An alien? Hiding? It didn't make sense. Who are you hiding from? Matt asked, his voice steady despite his unease. The creature didn't respond at first. Instead, it looked around, almost as though it was checking for any potential dangers. I cannot say. It finally whispered. They will come. They always come. Matt felt a shiver crawl up his spine. Who? But before the creature could answer, the ship suddenly groaned, the sound of shifting metal reverberating through the walls. A high-pitched hum filled the air, something mechanical, something dangerous. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the alien figure darted off into the shadows, disappearing into the corridors. Matt cursed under his breath, his instinct screaming at him to get out of the ship, but curiosity anchored him in place. What was that? What had just happened? He was supposed to be alone, yet there was an alien, running, hiding, and terrified. His mind raced. The mission hadn't been a normal one. Someone, or something, was hiding here, and Matt couldn't ignore it. Taking a deep breath, he made up his mind. He wasn't leaving without answers. As Matt continued to explore the abandoned vessel, he found more strange signs, footprints, small but unmistakable, etched into the dust. They were too light to be human. Each step was carefully placed, as though the being was trying not to be noticed. Matt followed them, every fiber of his being on edge. He rounded a corner and froze. There, in the dim light, stood the alien once more. But this time, there was a difference. It was holding something. A device? No, it looked like a part of the ship, a piece of equipment, perhaps one of the parts that Matt had come to retrieve. The creature turned its eyes toward him, and for the first time, Matt saw something else there, an understanding. It wasn't as afraid as it had been earlier. In fact, there was something else, a sense of recognition. You. The alien spoke again, its voice softer now, less frantic. You came for that. You came for the spare part. Matt hesitated. Yeah, that's what I came for. But what are you doing here? Why are you hiding? What are you? The creature tilted its head slightly, its dark eyes studying Matt with a curious intensity. I am an alien fugitive, it said in a barely audible whisper. But I cannot tell you more. They'll come if I do. Before Matt could respond, a loud bang echoed through the hallways of the ship, followed by a distant, mechanical voice. Attention. Unauthorized presence detected. Security protocols engaged. Matt's heart sank. The creature's face twisted in panic. They're here. They're coming. Matt barely had time to process the words when the ship seemed to come alive. The dim lighting flickered again, and the humming sound grew louder, more insistent. It wasn't just the ship's systems. Something was hunting. Something was moving. The alien's eyes widened in fear. They'll find me. You don't understand. Please, you have to help me. Matt's grip tightened around his weapon, but his mind was racing. The ship's security protocols had been activated, and from the sound of it, there were more than just automated defenses coming after him. No, there was something else. Someone, or something, was hunting the alien. And now, it was hunting Matt too. Who are they? Matt asked, his voice steady, though his pulse raced in his throat. The alien's form trembled. The Xylithians. They are the ones who created me. I escaped before they could finish their experiments. I didn't want to be a weapon. Matt's breath caught in his chest. Xylithians? He'd heard the name whispered in hushed tones in some of the military circles back home. Rumors of a ruthless species, advanced in biotechnology, ruthless in their pursuit of control. But what was the alien talking about? Experiments? Weapons? The creature stepped closer, its glowing skin now more evident under the light. I never wanted to be one of them. I ran. But now, they'll find me again. Matt's mind churned. He was no longer just here for a spare part. This was bigger than anything he could have imagined. This alien wasn't some rogue species. It was a creation, a fugitive, someone, or something, being hunted by the very beings who had made it. The ship's intercom crackled, and a mechanical voice echoed through the corridors. Security alert. Intruder detected. Proximity breach in Sector 9. Elimination in progress. Matt's grip tightened. We need to move, he said, adrenaline coursing through his veins. Where do we go? I know a place, the alien responded quickly, its voice now filled with urgency. Follow me. The alien darted into the darkness, and Matt followed without hesitation. As they ran through the twisting corridors, the sound of their footsteps seemed to echo louder with each passing second. The ship was no longer just a hulking, silent structure. It was a maze, alive with a creeping sense of danger. Something was moving within it, hunting, searching. Matt's heart pounded in his chest as the alien led him deeper into the ship's underbelly, through passages he never thought existed. Each turn was darker, the air more stale. But it wasn't the oppressive atmosphere that unsettled him. It was the feeling of being watched. The alien stopped suddenly, its head turning sharply to the side, eyes widening. They're here. Matt froze, his instincts on high alert. The hairs on his neck stood on end as he strained to hear. Low whispers, voices, drifted down the corridors in an alien language, one that he couldn't understand. But the menace was clear. The ship's mechanical voice sounded again, closer this time, almost as though it was directly speaking to them. Unregistered entity identified. Xylithian fugitive location confirmed. Elimination in 30 seconds. Move, the alien hissed, grabbing Matt's arm. We don't have much time. They sprinted through the narrow passageways, twisting and turning, as the sound of mechanical footsteps grew louder behind them. The walls seemed to close in around them, the corridors tightening with every step. Matt's mind raced. He had been prepared for a simple mission. Retrieve the part, check out the derelict ship, and report back. But this was something entirely different. A fugitive on the run, hunted by a species with technology he couldn't fathom. And now, he was part of it. The alien led him to a small room at the far end of the ship, hidden from the main paths. The door slid open, revealing a cluttered, dimly lit space. An old maintenance room. The alien paused in the doorway, turning to Matt. We can't stay here long. They have scanners. They'll find us if we don't act fast. Matt looked around the room, his eyes darting across the cluttered shelves and discarded equipment. He could hear the sound of the Xylithian hunters now, close, so close. I can't believe this is happening, he muttered, shaking his head in disbelief. How do you know they won't find us here? The alien's dark eyes glinted with an eerie calmness. I've learned how to hide. I know this ship like the back of my hand now. It turned toward a small, glowing console on the wall, tapping a few buttons quickly. But we need to disable the ship's sensors. If they find us, we're dead. Matt nodded, urgency setting in. He didn't have much time. The alien's shaky fingers worked the console, and Matt kept an eye on the door. Every second felt like an eternity. Done, the alien said, stepping back from the console. Now we wait. Matt's breath was heavy, his pulse loud in his ears. His mind raced with questions. What exactly was this alien? What had the Xylithians done to it? And why was he now caught in the middle of this deadly chase? The alien's eyes met his. I know what you're thinking, it said softly. I know you want answers. But if you want to survive, you need to trust me. Matt hesitated, but only for a moment. In a place like this, with threats closing in and nowhere else to turn, trust was all he had. I don't know if I can trust you, Matt replied quietly. But for now, I don't have much of a choice. The alien nodded, its body trembling slightly, but its expression grew softer, almost grateful. I will explain everything. But first, we need to survive. Just as the words left its mouth, the door to the maintenance room hissed open. Matt's weapon was already in hand, but the figure that appeared in the doorway wasn't a soldier or a machine. It was another alien, but this one was different. It was larger, its form hulking and muscular, with dark, slick armor that shimmered under the dim light. A Xylithian. The air between them crackled with tension, and for a split second, it felt as though the entire universe was holding its breath. The Xylithian didn't speak. It didn't need to. Its eyes locked onto the alien beside Matt, and the realization hit hard. This wasn't just a fugitive. It was a target. And Matt? He had just become part of the hunt. Matt's hand was trembling, but his grip remained firm around the weapon. He stepped forward, blocking the alien from view as the hulking Xylithian's eyes glinted with a cold, calculating intelligence. For a moment, there was a tense silence. Then, the Xylithian spoke, its voice deep and guttural. You should have stayed out of this, human. Matt's heart raced, and his pulse thundered in his ears. He had no idea what kind of firepower this Xylithian might have, but one thing was clear. It wasn't here for a friendly chat. The alien beside Matt made a low, strained sound, its eyes widening in terror. You don't understand, it whispered. He's one of them. The leader, the one who created me. He can destroy us both. Matt's thoughts whirled. The pieces were falling into place. This was no random chase. The alien wasn't just an innocent fugitive. It was a failed creation, a broken experiment. And now, the ones who had made it were coming to clean up their mess. Without thinking, Matt raised his weapon. The Xylithian didn't flinch. It only smiled. The smile was a terrifying thing, like a predator who had already calculated the kill. "You can't stop this," the Xylithian said, stepping forward, its massive form blocking the doorway. "You're just a human. A speck. I've hunted creatures across the stars, and you are no different." Matt's mind raced. He could try to shoot, but would it even matter? The Xylithian was too big, too strong. The alien beside him was a fugitive, weak and scared. But if there was one thing Matt had learned, it was that the element of surprise could make all the difference. Without warning, Matt lowered his weapon and lunged. The Xylithian's eyes widened in confusion just for a split second, and that was all Matt needed. With one swift motion, he slammed his shoulder into the Xylithian's chest, throwing the creature off balance. The Xylithian roared in fury, its thick claws swiping at the air. But it was too late. Matt ducked, rolling under the creature's massive limbs, and grabbed a nearby piece of metal debris. Sharp and jagged, part of the wreckage from an old panel. The alien, still trembling, bolted for the opposite corner of the room. "Run. We have to go." The Xylithian roared again, its massive form stumbling as it tried to regain its footing. Matt's heart pounded as he hurled the metal shard at the Xylithian's exposed side. It struck with a sickening sound, but the creature barely seemed to flinch. It was like throwing a rock at a wall. The Xylithian turned its glowing eyes to Matt, its voice a low growl. "You're brave. I'll give you that. But bravery won't save you." Just as it lunged toward Matt, the ship's intercom crackled to life again. "Warning. Unauthorized entity detected. Lockdown initiated." The ship's systems whirred, and suddenly, the walls around them began to close in. The floors shifted, the lights dimmed, and a low humming filled the air. Panic spread through Matt's chest as the reality hit him. The ship was locking them in, and there was nowhere to run. "We need to go now," the alien cried. "The ship is self-destructing. They've activated the failsafe." Self-destruct? Matt's mind went blank for a moment. His thoughts crashed together, but the words rang clear. "What do you mean, self-destruct?" The alien's eyes widened. "They did this to keep me from escaping. If I'm caught, they'll destroy the ship. The entire thing will blow up, and they'll erase everything about me. No trace. Then we need to get out of here," Matt shouted, grabbing the alien's arm and pulling it toward the exit. The ship was alive with alarm bells now, flashing red lights and sirens blaring. A countdown echoed through the corridors. 10 minutes to self-destruction, the intercom announced in a monotone voice. The Xylithian, realizing the situation was getting worse for both of them, stopped in its tracks. It didn't speak. Instead, it turned its attention to the alien beside Matt. "Run," the Xylithian said, almost calmly. "It doesn't matter anymore. You're not getting out. Neither of you." Matt didn't wait to find out what the Xylithian was planning. He bolted. The alien, his unlikely companion, stumbled along beside him, its breath coming in quick, panicked gasps. They ran through the halls, the ship around them vibrating with the impending doom. The countdown was deafening now. 5 minutes, the intercom announced. They reached a narrow escape hatch, a relic of the ship's original design. Matt punched the controls, but the system refused to cooperate. It was locked down. "Open! Damn it!" Matt shouted, slamming his fist against the panel. Sweat beaded on his forehead as the sound of Xylithian footsteps grew closer. The alien placed its hand on the control panel, its fingers trembling. "Please," it whispered, "I can do this. I just need a moment." Matt didn't have a moment. The Xylithian was nearly upon them. But the alien's glowing skin pulsed once, twice, and the door slid open just as the Xylithian rounded the corner. "Go!" the alien screamed. Without thinking, Matt shoved the alien through the opening and followed, just as the Xylithian's roar echoed down the corridor. They were outside. The moment they stepped onto the outside platform of the ship, Matt could see it, the vast, empty expanse of space. He was on the outermost part of the abandoned Proxima 9 station, surrounded by the cold void. Behind them, the ship's dark, hulking shape loomed. The countdown echoed in his mind. 3 minutes. Matt's pulse raced, but he turned to the alien beside him. "What now?" The alien looked back at him with its large, dark eyes. We have to leave. You need to go back to your people. They'll never stop looking for me. Why? Matt asked, his voice strained. Why me? Because, the alien said, its voice soft, almost sorrowful. You helped me when you didn't have to. You showed me kindness in a world that would have discarded me. Matt swallowed hard, the reality of the situation hitting him. The alien wasn't just a fugitive, it was an entire life, an entire being that had been torn apart by forces it had no control over. He looked back toward the ship as the countdown continued. I'm not leaving you here. I'm not asking you to, the alien whispered. But the Xylithians will come for both of us. You cannot stop them. Before Matt could respond, the alien moved, its hands raised in the air. A faint energy field pulsed from its fingertips, and in an instant, a small ship appeared from nowhere, hidden in the shadows of the station. Get in, the alien urged. It's the only chance we have. Matt hesitated. The ship was small, nothing like the military vessels he was used to. But there was no time left. He nodded and climbed into the small vessel, the alien following closely behind. The Xylithians were already upon them. The small ship blasted off just as the Proxima 9 station shook, the sound of an explosion echoing across the void of space. And as Matt looked back one last time, he realized something. It wasn't just about surviving. It was about understanding. Understanding that there were always bigger forces at play, and sometimes, the best thing you could do was be brave enough to face them, even when you were terrified. As they sped away from the wreckage, Matt looked at the alien. Where do we go now? The alien didn't answer immediately. It simply stared out at the stars, its face somber, its mind already miles away. Then, softly it said, to a new beginning, and in that moment, Matt understood. Sometimes, you had to run, but sometimes, you also had to be part of the story.